Everybody here tonight to the Mysteries of the Library Revealed webinar. Tonight we're talking about Google Scholar. My name is Kim Burton, and with me is Ann Rojas, and we're both going to be presenting to you tonight. So a little bit of an overview of what we want to get to tonight. Google Scholar is a great resource. However, it does have many limitations, which we'll be going over. There are a lot of ways for you that you can use Google Scholar to enhance your research. However, since this is only a 30-minute webinar, we're not going to be able to show you all of the tips and tricks there are to using Google Scholar, all of the resources and ways that you can use it. But hopefully we will be highlighting some of the more powerful tools that it has and how it can help you now as a student in your courses. We're going to start off by talking about some of the benefits and limitations to Google Scholar, especially as it is compared to the databases that we have at Walden. So I have a question for Ann. What is one of the limitations of Google Scholar that really sticks out for you?
So I guess to me, one of the big drawbacks is that it doesn't have any specialized collections the way the library databases have. So there isn't any way to search specifically for education or health sciences or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has the benefit of it is the size is it's gigantic. It has so much information in it. It's easy to locate a specific item. So if you are looking for an article and you have the title of the article, if you put that in Google Scholar, 9 times out of 10, it's going to pull up that exact article. It also works the same way if you're looking for a specific author. You put that author in there, you'll find all of the articles that that author has written. But as Ann mentioned, it searches across the disciplines, which, this could be great if you want to make sure that you're not missing out on any research that is on this topic, but is focused in a different subject related area. However, it can be, if you are looking specifically like for a business topic or a nursing topic, this can be pretty frustrating because you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of results, and there's no way to weed through the business ones versus the education ones or the nursing ones. The Walden Library has subject-specific databases. So these are collections that the librarians have curated to support all of the programs at Walden. So we have databases specifically for business. We have databases, again, specifically for psychology or nursing. So you can find relevant subject-specific resources in the databases. Some of the other limitations is that Google Scholar cannot handle complex searches as well as the databases. The databases are designed to perform these complex searches to get very focused results that you can use right away. Google Scholar is much broader. It brings back a lot of results, and then you have to kind of go through them. I mean, you can get like thousands and thousands of results in one search, and that's a little bit overwhelming. You also can't limit by material. So you can't just look for journals or books or videos. Again, this is something that you can do in the Walden databases. Google Scholar will also not limit to full text. So when you're searching in Google Scholar, you may not have access to all the things that it finds for you, even if Walden has some of those items. So if you just pull up Google Scholar and you do a search, articles are going to be there. And if you click on the title, a lot of times it's going to bring you to the publisher and they're going to ask you to pay for it. Walden may have those articles, but if Google Scholar doesn't know that you're a Walden student, so you have to make sure you're accessing Google Scholar through Walden, and that you're using your Walden, and therefore you can access it through the Walden databases. Google Scholar also does not limit to peer review. When you get your results, you have to take that extra step then to verify peer review. The databases just has a little button that you can check off and say, I only want peer-reviewed scholarly journals in my result list. Google Scholar doesn't do that. So if you find an article in Google Scholar you want to use, you then have to take another step and go through the process of verifying to make sure that that article is considered peer review if that is what you're looking for. One of the great benefits of Google Scholar is the citation chaining tool that it is. Citation chaining is a way to find more current research by searching for articles that cite a specific article. So let's say you have an article from 2010. You can actually find people or researchers who cite that article in their research. So since this article was published in 2010, all of those articles would have to be published after that date, meaning that they would be more current. So it's a way of moving forward in the literature and finding more current research on a topic. The databases can do this, but it's much more limited. They will only find articles that they have full text access to, that they have, that they can pull up right away and you can look at right then and there. So that's just that's like probably one of the favorite things I like about Google Scholar is the citation chaining ability. Both databases and Google Scholar allow you to set up search alerts. This is when you do a search and you find great results, you can set up an alert wherein Google Scholar or the database, depending on where you're searching, will automatically rerun that search every so often and then email you if it finds any new results. You do want to look at this with a little bit of caution in Google Scholar because, again, because it's so large and so broad, if you set up a search alert, it's probably going to find an article to fit that's what it thinks it fits that search alert and will inundate you with emails every day with articles which you may not really need or may not really be of interest to you. So just to be aware of that. Google Scholar has the ability to offer you access to author profiles. So this is kind of a cool thing that they do, where they allow researchers to set up profiles of themselves. Then you can search for that person, you can follow your favorite researcher, you can see what publications they have out there, see what presentations that they have done. The databases does not allow this. The only thing the databases will do is let you search for articles that specific authors have written. The one thing that Google Scholar is a little limited here is that the researchers actually have to set up their own profile. So if you're a researcher, you can set up a profile in Google Scholar and then people can follow you. But if the researcher you're interested in has not set that up, then you will not be able to access that. So those are just some of the benefits and limitations that we see compared to the library databases. And Anne is kind of going to go through and show you how those work in in a demo. And I'm just going to switch this over to Anne so she can present for you, to you, I should say.
Great, thanks so much. So let's go ahead and look at some specifics then of how Google Scholar works well as a research tool. As Kim said, it's really good at finding exact articles. It's great for citation chaining. You can set up alerts and you can look at those author profiles. And we're going to look at all of these things. And what we're going to do is actually pop into the library to start looking at how it works. So first and foremost, if you're looking for a specific article, Google Scholar is a really easy way to figure out if we have it in the library and if so, where it is. And you don't have to know where, what database it's in. You can just go to the Start Your Research tab at the very top of the page. And that's going to take you to a number of different options. You can search by database here, and you can see that Google Scholar is one of the options. So if I click on that Google Scholar link, it's going to give me a Google Scholar search box. Now you might ask, why would I want to do that when I can just go to scholar.google.com? Well, when you go to the Google Scholar search box from the library, it's going to help you find full text in the library. So let's take a look at how that works. If I pop in an article title in that search, this is the one that I'm looking for, Hope as a Predictor of Performance. That's going to give me the basic information, authors, information, part of the abstract, and you can click on the title, but a lot of times when you click on the title, most of the time, it's going to take you to the publisher's page or somewhere where it's going to request that you pay for it. And you don't want to do that if we have it in the library. So what we have is this Find at Walden link over to the right of the citation and abstract. And what that's going to do is either take you into the database that has full text, or it's going to give you a list of suggested databases where you might find it. So this one is to be found in Education Source, and all I have to do is follow the links to continue on, and voila, here you've got the full text over on the left-hand side. You have full information about the document, and a lot of times you'll have the abstract and additional information as well. So that's just one of the ways that they might come up in Google Scholar. And again, that's going to this Start Your Research tab from any of the library website pages in order to get a Google Scholar option, and then you can run your search. So let's just look at one more as an example for finding an exact article. If again, I'm just going to copy and paste the title in, and it's the same setup. It's showing me the Find at Walden, and just to show you how this looks, if I click on the title, it's going to take me into Taylor and Francis online, which will give me an orange Get Access button right here. And what that's going to do is ask me to pay for it. And I know that that isn't right because we subscribe to Taylor and Francis in the Walden Library. So if instead of clicking on the title in my Google Scholar results, I click on that Find at Walden, that is going to give me, in this case, a list of possible databases, and you can see here that a lot of them only have coverage through 2016, or this one has the delay of a year, but this one goes all the way to the present, and that happens to be the Taylor and Francis database, which is how it came up in Google Scholar before when we clicked on the title. And now instead of an orange Get Access button, we have a green PDF button. So really green for go. So that means that we have access to the full text because it's taken us into the library databases to get full text for you. So that access is really important. And otherwise, when you're in Google Scholar and it's showing you, sorry, I'm just going to go back to this page. It's showing you open access. Sometimes it'll be available in PDF format here to the right, along with the Find at Walden. Sometimes there will be no Find at Walden, but there will be a PDF. So you can go there and take a look at the full text.
So Anne, I have a question. What happens if there is no link there at all? No PDF, no Find at Walden there?
Oh, good question. Yeah, so if that happens, what you want to do is go to the library and ask a librarian. So you can go up here to the Ask a Librarian page, and that will allow you to ask us via email or chat, voicemail. You can leave us a message, and you can make an appointment too, although you don't really need to do that if you're just looking for full text. We do answer emails 7 days a week. It's not 24/7, but it is 7 days a week, except of course for holidays. So, so that is one way that you can request it. Otherwise, if you're really sure we don't have it or you just can't find it anywhere, you can go to Services. Again, from the top of the page here, the Services option. And under Student Services, you'll find our Document Delivery Service. This is really Interlibrary Loan by any other name. And so what you can do is sign in to our document delivery service by using this button on the left-hand side and fill out the information about the citation, the title of the article, the journal it comes from, the issue, etc. And what we do is email you a PDF that usually takes about 7 days. So it's not really meant for weekly assignments and discussion posts. It's meant for people who are working on long-term capstone projects. And so that's how you can request things if you can't find it in the library. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that citation chaining that Kim was talking about earlier. That's what we can do to find things that have been written since an article was published. You can see here we've got the relationship between self-reports college experiences. This was published in 1995, so it's pretty old. And if I'm interested in finding out if anybody's been reading that lately and what kind of research they've been doing, I can look for this cited by, and I can see here that 437 researchers have cited that in their books and articles since it was published in 1995. And when I click that cited by link, it will give me the full list. And again, you can see where a lot of them are available in the library, a lot are also available online, and you can access the full text there. You also want to note that a lot of these have been cited as well. Another thing the cited by can tell you is how influential an article has been. So that other article, the original one I put in, was published in 1995 and had been cited by over 400 people, but this one was published in 2001 and has been cited by over 1,100. So that's been pretty influential, and if it's of interest to your topic, you can follow those threads of conversation forward in time. There are other ways that we can narrow down this search as well. You've got 437, that's a lot to slog through. You can search within the citing articles to see which ones address a certain aspect of your search. So let's say I'm interested in female students. I can put in women and I can bring it down to 230 results instead of over 400. So it's starting to add a little bit of focus and get to be a more manageable list to work through. Although again, it's still an awful lot. If you want to just look at who's been citing it recently, you can use these limits for the date ranges and look to see, who's been citing it just in the last couple of years. And then I only get 7 results, which hopefully is a really focused list. And when you get to this point where you've got a relatively focused list, and you want to know if anything else is falling into their collections or in their crawlers to find more, this is where you can create an alert in Google Scholar, is on the bottom left here. And if I click on that, it's going to tell me what the alert query is. So it's looking for new citations of this particular article, including the word women, and I would just fill in my email address there and create the alert. And as Kim noted before, it's really important that you make a very focused search only when you're doing alerts. I mean, it doesn't have to be only 7 results, but certainly not thousands. And that's just because you don't want to be flooded with emails and articles. So when you put in a lot of parameters in the search, you can put a little control on the number of emails, the number of articles that you receive through those alerts. And then one of the other things that we had talked about where Google Scholar is a really good tool is those author profiles. And as you can see here, this article has 3 different authors and just 2 of them are underlined. So the author profiles, you can tell, are only those that are underlined. If I click on that, it will take me to Dr. Grineski's page, what she's filled out, and it'll tell us that she's in the sociology department at the University of Utah. It will give me a list of titles that she has been author or co-author on, and it also gives a profile of her, where people are citing her, and you can see that she's been on the rise, and in 2019 she's been cited more than ever. If you decide this is somebody who is addressing a lot of topics that you're interested in, you can click this blue follow button to set up alerts for when anything new falls in that has been authored by Dr. Grineski. So any questions so far? Anything that I
You
should
know,
go over again?
no, I've been answering some questions, but they've all been taken care of. But Pete, please feel free to ask your questions as they come up.
Yeah, no problem with that. So, okay, well, let's just go back then to a fresh search and talk about doing general searches. So we talk a lot about how it works really well for finding specific articles and for citation chaining. You can search in Google Scholar too. You can search the way you search in library databases. Google Scholar will actually allow you to type in full sentences instead of stripping your topic down to keywords the way you need to do in library databases. But Google does work on the same basic principles as any library database as far as search strategies. Keep in mind those limitations though too, that particularly the fact that you can't limit to peer review, and consider also that normally less is more. So getting a lot of results in Google Scholar is not necessarily a better thing. If I look at, for instance, high school student discipline and principles, how principles are involved in that, if I just put that in as my search query, you can see here that I have over 900,000 results. So I know I don't want to go through 900,000 results, and I'm sure you don't either. And you can use some of those search results, or rather narrowing things. You don't have an option to search within, but you can limit by date here. You can follow the citations. But there is also an advanced search in Google. If you go to where this 3 horizontal lines are in the upper left-hand corner, it's commonly referred to as a hamburger. If you open up the hamburger, it's going to give you an option for an advanced search. And this will let you do a little bit more precision searching the way we do in library databases. So if I want to search the exact phrase of high school student, I can put that in. And I definitely want to look for the word principal. And then I can also look at discipline or expulsion or suspension for the discipline piece of it. And it will search at least one of those words anywhere in the article. And you can put in dates and authors and other things in the advanced search option as well. But if we do it that way, a little bit more organized search instead of just kind of random keywords, we bring it from over 900,000 to 23,000. It's still too many, but you can see where fine-tuning your search in Google, just like in the databases, will really help you. Like I say, I think that less is more. So if you do a similar search in a library database, whether it's multidisciplinary database or something in education, it's going to give you a much more manageable list of results. Just a little self-promotion there for the library. And then other things that you want to look at when you're scanning through your results in Google Scholar. As I mentioned, you have those PDFs and HTML on open source. Sometimes keep in mind it might be here today, gone tomorrow. So you want to pay attention to that. Underneath, in addition to the cited bys, we have other tools. You can click on the little quotation marks for citation help, and you can copy and paste that into a Word document. Now, just as a little proviso, they're not always perfect. You do have to double check them for a correct APA format, but it does give you a good start. It's, cuts down on your typing. You've got your cited by, and there will also be related articles. And there are also a lot of different versions. So sometimes authors, researchers will fine-tune their research a little bit and republish something very similar, or publish some things in open access and others in specific databases. So you can use all of those tools as well. Another thing that's available here are these little arrows for more. So sometimes you'll get that. You can see that this doesn't have access through Find at Walden or an open source, but if I open that up by clicking on the little double arrow, it'll give me a Find at Walden option, and so I can see whether or not it might be available. It's usually kind of a long shot, but you never know. Sometimes it'll pop up that way. And so those are just some of the more specific things that you can use within Google Scholar that we want to point out to you, but we're not going to go into a lot of detail about them. So what about that inability to limit to peer review? Well, we happen to have a tool in the library to help you verify peer review, and it's conveniently located from that Start Your Research page. Right underneath the Google Scholar link, you'll find Ulrich's Verify Peer Review. And what Ulrich's does is will verify the peer review status of a journal. So that has to be entered by journal title, not by article title, because journals either use the peer review editorial process or they don't. And when you put it in, what you're looking for in the results is this little striped shirt icon. It's a referee shirt. So that's just because refereed is another term used to mean peer-reviewed. And when we pull it up in Ulrich's, you can see that the Journal of Education Finance does have the little striped referee shirt. And that means that any research article that I pull up from the Journal of Education Finance has been through the peer-reviewed editorial process. Sometimes there will be opinion pieces or book reviews, that sort of thing, which don't go through peer review, but any research article that you find there has been through the peer review process. And a lot of people get concerned about the fact that it's in here multiple times. That is really common. It's because they enter it once for every format. So it's once for print, once for microform, actually twice for microform on this, and once for the online version. So that's the only reason why it's in there multiple times. So I'm just going to go back, sorry, to my slideshow here and make sure that I haven't forgotten anything. I believe we talked about those things and your basic search. Yep. Was there a question?
No, I've been answering the questions as they've been coming in. So
Great.
We are good.
Okay. Yeah. So I like to emphasize that less is more, and then just what it's like to go through what you want to be looking for when you're decoding the results lists and how to verify peer review. Now in the slide deck, we have a lot of links to additional resources. We have a Google Scholar Guide, for example, also information about evaluating resources, and of course a link to that Verify Peer Review and how to use Find at Walden, and even the document delivery service for when you can't find what you're looking for. And don't forget that you can always ask a librarian for help.
Yep, we're always here to help, guys.
And that pretty much wraps it up. We're right on the hour.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but we can stay here for a few more minutes if anybody has some questions.